The Mitchells versus the Machines is a brand new movie that has debuted on Netflix, and it's directed by, what's his name here? Mike Renata. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I just do a lot of mispronunciation on this channel. And it's executive produced by Phil Lord and Chris Miller from a few famous movies, I would say. And it's about a family who, basically the daughter of the family, she gets into college, and instead of, taking a plane to her new college, her dad and her mom and her brother decide, hey, let's go on one last family road trip before, you go off to college and start this new life of yours. And during this whole thing, a robot apocalypse occurs, and they're our last hope, even though they cannot get along whatsoever. Now, remember when this movie was supposed to come out sometime last year? They were starting to release trailers for it. It was under the title Connected, and it was delayed due to COVID, and then they just said, screw it, let's just put it on Netflix and retitle it as The Mitchells versus the Machines. And I don't know, I wasn't really looking forward to this movie. I knew that I knew Phil Lord and Chris Miller were involved. I do like a lot of their work. And again, they're not in charge of this whole thing. It's this other guy. And the trailers didn't really make me laugh. It didn't really stand out among like other animated movies. So I was like, oh, what's the point of this one? And then I sat and watched it, and I thought it was good, but I do have some issues with it, and they're more personal than anything. So let's start off with the animation. The animation in this movie, it's pretty good. I do like, how it's animated. It definitely has its own style to it. At least with all these movies that are executive produced by Lord Miller, they all have their own unique style, at least. So it's like, oh, I can kind of differentiate it from other animated movies. So I think that's really good. The characters are also decent as well. There are people who are, I feel like you get the sense that they actually do want to be better people, because like throughout the movie, they just keep saying, oh, we're just the worst family. And it's like, they're aware of it, and they're at least aware that they kind of need to improve in some way. Improve in their relationships and their communication, and yeah. The performances overall, they're pretty good as well. We got Abby Jacobson, who plays the daughter of this family, and she's really good. She can be sarcastic and funny, and I'm going to talk about her and her dreams in the negative part, but, she's a likable character enough. Pretty much all the characters in this movie are likable in some way. Maya Rudolph plays her mom, and she's really good. She's one of the few who's like trying to keep, her daughter and her husband together. And, Danny McBride voices her husband. He's really good. You do believe he wants to be better as the dad. And Mike Renata, he also voices the younger brother in this. At first, the voice didn't match for me. And then as the movie went on, I kind of let that go. Because, it kind of works. He's kind of funny in this part. There are also a few other random people in this, like Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. They appear as a couple who have a family who are infinitely better than this family that we're dealing with. And they kind of get a few laughs. They're not in much, but they're there. Also, probably the best people in this movie are Eric Andre and Olivia Coleman. Who would have guessed that those two would be in a movie like this? And who would have guessed those two would end up sharing scenes together? Because, this whole zombie apocalypse, Eric Andre is the person who creates the new system that kind of starts this whole thing. And Olivia Coleman is the old system that kind of is taking over the world, basically. And they're really funny together, and they're funny on their own. Eric Andre can be really funny in this. Olivia Coleman, who, again, I didn't really expect her to be in a movie like this. But she's really good. She's a really fun villain to watch. And you understand her. I think that's the most important part. Also, the style of this movie is very interesting as well. I'm going to talk about this in a negative as well. But, the main character, voiced by Abby Jacobson, she wants to be a filmmaker. She wants to go to college to learn film. And you kind of see, brief glimpses of, the kind of movies she's making. And the movie feels like it's edited in a way and, stylized in a way that it's oh, it's like one of her movies. It's like she's actually making this movie. So it's okay, that actually makes sense. But that kind of leads into my negatives. The style of the movie's a little bit distracting to me. And it just didn't really work for me after a while, where it's or they kind of just drop it. It's okay, here's the rest of the movie. We'll just drop this and we'll just continue. It's oh, okay, so fine, whatever. Also, it's kind of annoyed me after a while. I was why is she going to film school? And coming from someone who was a cinema major at one point, the people who are in charge of that program would not like any of her films. Like, she would be perfect for YouTube, honestly. Like, either like a family blog or like making personal videos or making like sketch videos for YouTube. Like, that would make more sense than, say, film school. So, and like, there's even a reference at one point. It's like, oh, you're like Martin Scorsese and your dad is like Robert De Niro. It's like, okay. And like, because like there's a running gag where he's kind of the star of some of her videos, and it's okay. Also, the jokes, even though they were fine, most of them were good and made me laugh, and most of the characters made me laugh. I didn't really care for the gross out humor. Like, I don't really like jokes involving like puking. There's one joke where they eat at a restaurant. And it's like, oh, this place has 0 stars. We shouldn't eat here. And the dad's like, oh, no, it'll be fine. And then it cuts to them puking from eating that food. And I just didn't laugh. I knew it was coming. And it was just gross. I don't like jokes about that. It's so, ew. Don't do that. So, overall, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, it's a funny enough movie. It's well animated. The characters are likable enough. I don't know if I would have made certain choices in this, particularly with the main character deciding to go to film school. But other than that, it's enjoyable enough. I don't know if I would say it's better than some of Phil Lord and Chris Miller's other movies, but it's good enough to watch at least. So I'll give The Mitchells vs. the Machines 3 out of 4 stars. See it. So, did you see The Mitchells vs. the Machines? Also, who's your favorite animated family in a movie? I don't know. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.